coming up on the Lead Ministry Podcast.
I was a fresh Bible college and then seminary graduate. And so I felt like, wow, I should have these tools. I should be able to lead in ministry. That's what all my training is for. And yet there were some pretty major gaps in what I was, needing to do.
Now your host, Josh Denhart.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lead Ministry Podcast. We're in this super special series about ministry coaching. I think it's a huge value. I think that it benefits people. I think that it benefits the coach, but it also benefits those who are receiving coaching. And so in this series, we are talking with some of the lead ministry certified coaches, but we're also talking to those who have been a part of the lead ministry coaching program or are currently a part of the lead ministry program. And guess what? We got a special one today. My good friend, Ian Troll. Ian, buddy, thanks for being with us and joining us.
Absolutely. It's an honor.
You bet, buddy. Well, tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into some of the fun stories about our history. But tell us a little bit about yourself to start with.
Totally. So I serve as an assistant pastor at Covenant Presbyterian Church in Chicago.
Yes.
Prior to that, I've been on staff serving as the director of children and youth ministries for the last 6 years.
Yes.
Yeah,
you kind of got a bump.
I did. Yes. You were part of that.
Yeah, I know.
We'll talk about it. I'm sure.
I'm sure we'll talk about that. Yeah, you definitely got a bump. And that was a big piece to our coaching when we did that. And but let's just give the history. We got a unique history. Come on.
We do. Yeah. I remember the very first time that I interacted with you. I was an elementary age chapel at Des Moines Christian School, and you were the speaker, and you lit it up. I remember that.
That is so funny. I didn't know. I thought that you were going to say like at Camp Hidden Acres was our first interaction.
Oh, you were a known quantity to me when you were the speaker at Hidden Acres when I was a camper. So
because of Des Moines Christian.
History. Yes.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden when I showed up, you're like, I know that guy.
I know that guy. I'll listen.
Yeah. That's huge. Well, and I have to say, seeing you as a camper and then seeing you become a counselor. And I got to be honest, like full transparency. I know that you've heard this, but people in podcast land don't. I worked as a pastor and whatever, but I worked at the camp when I was in college, the same camp that you attended. And then I ended up after camp counseling, ended up getting a job as a pastor and then started to become one of the summer speakers. Well, you were a camper then, but then over time you became some of the counseling staff, just like I was counseling staff, right? And I'm full transparency, man, I had my leadership lenses on and I was constantly looking for who my next hire could be to come work with me at the church because the counseling staff was a great training ground. The counseling staff at the camp was a great vetting ground, not only training, but vetting to all of a sudden go, okay, whoa. Okay, looking across the crowd, bing, that person stands out. Looking across, oh, that person stands out. And you absolutely stood out. Now, tell the crowd how many times I sought to strong arm you to hire you to come on staff with me.
I don't have an exact number, but it was upwards of 20.
Let's go.
Granted, I was on staff for a number of years, so you had a lot of opportunities. But
yes,
it was a hard push, a hard sell every summer.
I hope that I didn't wear you out.
Oh no, it was very flattering. It was encouraging.
Yeah, I even tried to get you to quit college to come start to work out.
That's true. My parents might not have been super happy about that.
I wouldn't have totally followed through with that. But I wanted to let you know that I meant it. That I saw. Listen, it's 4 letters. I see in you. I see in you, and I saw in you a lot of qualities where I was like, this guy's a winner, and he is. I would love to interact and help him develop in his leadership abilities. Okay, so that's kind of our history, but we're excited that you're on the podcast. Now, we're talking on this particular series, The Power of Ministry Coaching. And this is kind of an interview style But I'm going to read a couple of quotes to you. If anybody's ever listened to the podcast, they know we do kind of a define it and a develop it, and then we close with a call to action and let's do it. So from a definition standpoint, what is ministry coaching? I'm going to read this, and then I want you to respond to it or tell me which pieces resonated the most with you. Okay, what is ministry coaching? A ministry coach is a spiritual leader who provides tailored support, tailored guidance, and tailored encouragement to individuals, helping them grow in their faith, grow in their personal development, and grow in their career in the church. Okay, so what stands out to you in this kind of working definition of a ministry coach?
I think I immediately see the idea of tailored to an individual. And then alongside that, the support, guidance, encouragement. And I think that is one of the unique qualities of a good coach, is hopefully that they get a sense of who you are, and maybe they don't need to pay as much attention to your strengths. They're able to tailor their services to where you really need to grow.
And I know for a fact that was the case with you, that I did tailor it to you, but would you say that was true?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. We'll get into some of the details of that in a little bit. Let's keep on with this definition. And here's what I have for another quick thing. And I want you to respond to this and see what stands out to you. Okay, what is ministry coaching? Ministry coaching is a partnership between a coach and a ministry leader to help them identify their strengths, overcome their challenges, and achieve their goals in a faith-based context. It's a collaborative conversation that empowers individuals to live out God's calling and effectively serve in ministry. What stands out to you in this?
I think in particular for our experience, it was the overcoming challenges and achieving goals. Those are two things that I think, I wouldn't always say that I'm the most goal-oriented. So you really helped me kind of identify some of those goals that maybe I wasn't putting into words, and then build up to achieving those. Yeah,
and you did achieve those. Okay, let's move on to this big second bucket, which is let's develop it. Now, this kind of category is, how can coaching support you or support someone? So what was your first interaction with lead ministry? Of course, we have the fun backstory of me trying to hire you and me speaking at Des Moines Christian School or me speaking at the camp. That's all fine. But when it came to lead ministry, as in the courses and the coaching, what was your first interaction there?
Well, yeah, I'd seen that you had started it just because friends on Facebook, and I paid attention. But it wasn't until I hit some real roadblocks and obstacles and disappointment and discouragement in my ministry role that I started thinking, maybe Josh could help me. And that's when I, looked you up. It had been a minute since we had interacted, and that was my kind of entry back in.
Yes. Now, I may be wrong. It could be somebody else, but wasn't it your wife who did like a Google search or something? Was that you? I think once I found you, found your website, I told my wife, and she's like, well, are you, contacting him? And so she pushed me into it. Okay. After I was just like, I was sitting on the fence of like, should I do anything about this? That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's super helpful. Okay, so how long have you been a member of Lead Ministry? How long were you in the coaching program? I know that this is a good case of the normals. You were, we worked intensely together. I'll let you explain the timeline. And now, appropriately, that's come to a close, and that's okay.
Yeah. So I started in January of 2023 with the Lead Ministry membership, and coaching started right about that time as well. Yes.
So we did coaching for 2 years. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And what a gift, right? Because, the first year is really about solidifying like your volunteer culture. If you don't get volunteers right in a ministry context, you're doomed. I remember I was sitting at a big national thing one time, and I was taking notes about what the guy was speaking about in front, but then I just had this epiphany where I was like, most people who jump into a ministry context don't understand that when they're like, hey, I want to be a pastor, or I want to work on staff at a church, they don't necessarily realize that instantaneously they have become the HR director of an all unpaid workforce.
Yeah.
They don't teach you that at Bible college, brother.
No, they don't.
What they teach you is about good theology and how to handle the Word of God correctly, which is essential, but it's not sufficient. It's not the only thing. It's not the only thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And dealing with people is a big piece to this. So that first year is all about leading volunteers well. And then, thank God, we were given the gift of you being able to do it for a second year, and your leaders were down with that. And, we'll get to what we covered kind of in that second year, but I think that was just as important as the first one.
Yeah, totally. Agreed.
Now, the other thing, Ian, that I think is noteworthy, that I think it speaks to you as an individual, is the following. Like, as a member of Lead Ministry, you had access to all of the webinars, whether they were a paid webinar or a free webinar. And you joined, I think, every single one.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, sign me up. It's included. Even I don't have to, it was like, it was that member perk that I was pumped about.
Yes. And so, we would get on a call and you would reference something from one of the paid, but free to you webinars or whatever. And I was just impressed. And this is not the case with everybody. I'm going to be dead serious. There are people who they don't take it as seriously. And it makes me scratch my head, but you weren't that guy. You went deep and you took all of it in, and I'm proud of you for that.
Thanks, man.
That's awesome. So what drew you to get a ministry coach? What was like you had said some hard things, but just kind of maybe tease that out a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Well, so I had gone from a part-time role into a full-time role that was expanded. I was taking on the children's ministry leadership. And it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And I struggled through my first year and felt like I learned some things. But then when it came to that second year, I got to the end of it and felt like I was on a hamster wheel. I had just lived the same year 2 years in a row where the same things were challenging. The same things were surprising me. And I didn't feel, I love the people I work with, but I didn't necessarily feel like any of them had what I needed or had the strengths and the skill set to kind of bring me up to where I wanted to be as a leader.
Yeah. So you needed an outside voice. You needed somebody. And what you said, Ian, about like your second year, you're like, wait a minute, second verse, same as the first? What is going on here? You know what I mean? And that can get really, really, really challenging and emotionally, like emotional dismemberment, where you're like, okay, I knew that first year was going to be hard, but hold on, is this going to be year 14 is the same? I don't know. I don't know if I got that in me.
Yeah. And to be really honest, it was to the point of something needs to change.
Yeah.
This is not sustainable for me or for my family. And so is that a different setting, or is that strengthening, and digging down deeper and figuring out how to do this role better?
Yes. So you had to, I think a lot of people wrestle with this. Did I stand in the wrong line? Or do I need to be equipped to fulfill on the line that I stood in?
Exactly. And I'm coming from, at that point, I was a fresh Bible college and then seminary graduate. And so I felt like, wow, I should have these tools. I should be able to lead in ministry. That's what all my training is for. And yet there were some pretty major gaps in what I was, needing to do.
Bro, this is so true. And I tell people all the time, where seminary ends, lead ministry begins.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, how many, so you have an MDiv, you have a master's of divinity.
MDiv.
Yeah. You went to Bible college at Moody, very respectable. Then you went to Trinity Evangelical Seminary. Like, that's the big leagues. How many courses did you take on volunteer management? 0.
I don't think a single one.
And it's such an important piece to existing in the church. Man, I need to get connected with Trinity. You know what I mean? And be like, folks, like, have this be something that people can audit. My bottom line is that your story is on rinse and repeat so many times over. It really is. What it comes down to is, you know, you have an immense knowledge of the Bible and an immense knowledge of church history. But in terms of the practice and the tactics of doing ministry in the local church, and in a lot of ways, ill-equipped.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think it was at a point where my strengths were my strengths and the things I could do well. That wasn't usually the problem. It was the fact that so much of my time was spent on the things that I couldn't do well, that even the things I do well, I'm just mailing it in. So yeah, you came at a very needed time.
Okay. I'm glad that I came in at a needed time. But the funny thing is that you said something important. What your strengths were, you ended up needing to phone those in because you were being blistered and taken out almost by the things that you weren't equipped to do.
Exactly.
And so what you were good at doing, that took a supreme back seat to, I'm getting eaten. My lunch is getting eaten every day in these other areas. That's huge. Okay. So now we're kind of hitting on this already, but this next question says, how has coaching benefited you as a person and as a ministry leader?
I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but just to drill down more deeply on it, that volunteer management side of things, right? The people work that is so much of ministry. After 2 years spent, intensely living, trying to study and drink deeply of everything that you're offering, I've got so many different lines of yours.
Oh, that's awesome.
In my head in really helpful ways. At the end of the day, so much of my orientation towards ministry when I was just starting out was I need to do all these things, right? It was very not self-centered in a sinful way, but it was me-centered in I didn't trust that other people could bring things to the table and would want to bring things to the table. And so really there was some big paradigm shifts for me even early on in thinking through how to make these volunteer roles not as easy as possible, where people can just show up, punch in, punch out, but that it would be as valuable as possible for them, that they would feel like it was worth their time and their investment.
Yeah, big difference there. And the other thing that you spoke about, which I remember vividly working on this for an extended period of time, was the role of a pastor isn't to do the work of the ministry. The role of a pastor is to build up the body to do the work of the ministry. And that's a big shift for all of us, okay? That's a big shift for anybody to be like, whoa, my job is to get other people in the game. That's eye-opening for a new leader.
Totally. Yeah, it was eye-opening for me.
And I really encourage you. Now, I have to say, I'm going to speak for you here, because another way that I feel that it benefited you as a person, not just as a ministry leader, but as a person, is that, you got to understand, you were one of 12 people that I take on from a coaching standpoint in a year. So, like, I kind of consider you to be one of my insiders and one of my friends, and I'm dedicated to you, and I'll take your calls and I'll take your texts. But I remember that, we got on a call together, me, you, and your wife, to talk about like the properties that you guys, you recently sold it though, didn't you?
Yeah. Okay. Last week.
Okay, that's so awesome. But we spent quite a bit of time dealing. So you're like, well, how does that deal with volunteer leadership? It has everything to do with volunteer leadership because you're leading everybody and you got to get your world figured out.
Yeah, totally. And that was a surprise benefit, to be honest. I don't know if I would have anticipated that when I first signed up. But I felt like I could trust you as a voice in my life. And, it came to the point where we were facing just really big decisions that we needed to make that, we felt like we didn't have the resources or the vantage point to be able to think through this really significant decision for our family. And, that had ties to what does this look like for our future in ministry? How do we set ourselves up as a family to be in this work for a long time? Because we feel that's where God has us.
Yeah. And what's so funny is that's where coaching comes in, because it's like you have a big brother in your corner that's like, bro, let's talk about this. And so that was always special for me. And I got to say, I probably could get goosebumps, probably could tear up, but my dream, and I know I've told you this before, but my dream of having you on staff with me, it was fulfilled in a different way. It was fulfilled through lead ministry coaching, because I was like, dude, I want to pour into this guy's life. He is a winner. I want to somehow get into his world. In my vehicle that I thought was that you would come on staff with me at church and that you would become an Andy Johnson and a Carter Noreen, and the list goes on. But that wasn't the plan. But this was the paraclete. This was the come alongside. This was the next opportunity. So
and to your credit, it's not you might not like me saying this, but those seeds that you laid and you planted all those years ago, that blossomed in a way. There was maybe a delay on the harvest, but it was there, and so you were faithful to that, and I just appreciate that so much.
I appreciate
from you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate that we had this. I truly appreciate that we had this opportunity. Okay, so can you share a story where coaching really helped you navigate a complex ministry situation?
I can share a few. I'll pick one. So, I mentioned at the opening that my role has changed. Still at the same church, but I was going through a process of ordination, and that was a pretty intense process and an intense situation that it was complicated, as you said, right? Navigating complicated situations. And there were hopes and desires that I had for what this new role could be and what it would mean for the work that I had been investing myself in, and how to navigate that. And the line that you say, I'll butcher it exactly, but it's, busy leaders, the people above you making decisions, they don't want to solve your problems. They want to approve well thought out plans. And so
you didn't butcher it. That's spot on. That's
Oh, good. I had all these hopes for what I could end up doing with this new role. And so you helped me really craft a way to think about what is it that I'm hoping this transition will look like, and then how to package that and present that to the people who ultimately are the decision makers, because that wasn't me.
Yes.
And so it went it's going according to plan, more or less.
And that's so encouraging to me, right? Because we there were hours that we spent, literal hours, multiples of crafting out, okay, you want to get here? Let's put together, again, busy leaders don't want to solve your problems. Busy leaders want to approve well-constructed plans. And so we spent hours constructing this well-orchestrated plan, and lo and behold, it happened. Am I right?
Yeah. And it's not about getting my way in a selfish way. It's about I think these are good for the church. I think this is good for the ministries that I'm leading. I would like for these things to happen for their health, and so I think you were able to help me think through and talk about and come up with a plan for really going after that.
Now, I would say also, this particular story in the complex ministry situation, what I would say to that is, now you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that you grew in your level of confidence in your own 2 feet, standing your ground and being able to articulate with your voice and end up getting your way. There's nothing wrong with getting your way.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I definitely, part of this was coming into a place of just, I've never been older than I am right now, but getting into that higher level of like, I'm an adult. I'm needing to take these steps forward for me, for the good of myself, for the good of my family, for the good of the ministry that I'm seeking to serve and lead. And so I think having you helpfully push me into that was something that I really needed and benefited from.
I think so too. And I'm not saying this is true for everybody, because it is this tailored approach, right? That's the unique role that I sit in, where I'm like, okay, so this gal out in Colorado, or this gal out in Washington State, or Ian in Chicago, right? I have to think through, okay, whoa. I got to ask questions. I got to think. And who are they? Where do they need to be pushed? And I think a big of it with you was just simply confidence in your ability to make a really hard pitch.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved all of a sudden we were like, wow, yeah. And then I just saw you kind of rise to that. So that was huge. So yes, you being able to put together a cogent, intelligent pitch, and your leaders are like, yes to it all. Boom.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm grateful.
Yes. And I want to let people out there in podcast land know this took a lot of time. This was not a one call wonder. This was something that we worked on for probably 4 or 5 months. Am I right?
Yeah, totally.
That's huge. Okay. What course or courses have benefited you the most from lead ministry, or what course is kind of your personal fave?
I mean, the lead volunteers, the first one is like the bread and butter. Like, I feel like that's a language I feel like you kind of learn, and a way of thinking about, recruiting and training and retaining and all of those different aspects of volunteer leadership. I mean, that challenged me and helped me so much. But, given what we were just talking about, I think probably a personal favorite is Lead Up.
Sure.
I think that was helpful in a lot of ways for me. Getting some nuts and bolts know-how when it comes to
being persuasive
from the top. Yeah, being persuasive, using well thought out strategies for, once again, pursuing how I was seeing the best possible future for the ministries that I'm invested in. Yes.
And what's so funny is that I've got so many thoughts, but like, just the idea that like, it's kind of like, no, these aren't the droids that you were looking for. You know what I mean? And we can actually be a persuasive voice, but there is a formula to it, isn't there? There is a formula to getting a persuasive voice. And I love it that lots of people have different courses that have really impacted them. And that lead up course is definitely a winner. Okay. Now, what is something unique, maybe funny, maybe quirky that stuck with you from one of our times of coaching? Very curious.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've covered a few of them already. I mean, the most unique thing was sitting down on a call with you, me, and my wife, and being able to talk through, hey, these are maybe not straightforwardly ministry concerns in that, it's not, leading a Sunday school program or whatever it is, but these are deeply relevant to my life as a ministry leader.
Big time.
So I think that was the most unique, the thing that will stick with me. And behind that is just the level of care and desire to really be helpful for putting us in a good spot and encouraging and advising us in some really important matters.
It does matter. And it wasn't, hey, here's how to orchestrate your Sunday school lesson. This was, hey, the bigger arc of leadership in life and ministry. What are you going to do here? And I do believe that you guys would have figured it out, but I think that my voice was very, very, very important. Okay.
Absolutely.
As we kind of close this out, Ian, I want to ask, why, in your mind, should others consider getting a coach? In other words, what would you say to someone who's on the fence about having a ministry coach? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, if anything that I was saying earlier on in the call about where I found myself a little over 2 years ago rings true for you, that you keep hitting the same problem. You don't quite see yourself gaining ground on these things that are making your ministry role challenging. I would say if that's where you're at and you don't have obvious opportunities to grow within your exact location or your ministry, then a coach is an amazing choice for you. And I would encourage you. I mean, I think also if you have a desire to be in ministry for long term, you're only going to be benefited by someone who's got more experience speaking into your situation, tailoring their guidance to where you're at.
Yes. And Ian, I would say this comes to my mind very, very strongly. I only wish that everybody had a direct supervisor who was in their world, knew them, was discipling them about the holistic part of life and ministry, and was training and teaching them about recruiting and training. But often your supervisor at church, they're a good person.
Yeah. But
they aren't providing you the stuff that maybe a ministry coach is providing you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where I know for myself and a lot of others find themselves. And so that outside voice and you know, frankly, with you, I think you have developed some things and you have gifts that are not the most common. And so there's probably not a lot of churches that have someone in-house with your kind of way of seeing and doing things. And so, I would just commend to anyone listening.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's huge. And, you know, I do, it's important, and I receive that. I receive that from you because I think that it is important for us to realize, oh, wow, I am unique. I am weird. Yeah. I do have a positive, unique bent in contribution to the kingdom. Well, you're awesome.
Your superpower, as you once told me, is that you are the world's greatest lab partner. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, man, you're a blessing. So grateful for you. So grateful for your friendship. Thanks for jumping on and joining us today. Very, very grateful. I'm excited to continue to stay in touch. Well, gang, here's the deal. Thanks to Ian, and thanks for you guys for joining us today on the Lead Ministry Podcast. Super grateful. Keep it up, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Lead Ministry Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit leadvolunteers.com for more episodes and resources. Thanks for listening.